Hi everybody. Today, a napkin journal. We are going to create a faux leather background and use some of our gel stamped embellishments. So this was actually an excerpt from the Break the Blank page 2 video where I took a brown paper bag and glued it down with gel medium after crumpling it up multiple times onto a background. This is going to give it some incredible texture, and we have the option, which I'm going to do, is turn this into a faux leather background. You can watch this whole video and get the other 9 ways of breaking the blank page by clicking the iCard in the top right hand corner. So this napkin is called the Romee napkin, and I'll put a link to it in the description box. I'm taking off the 2 plies of excess white napkin, and then I'm just going to quickly water cut the beautiful Mandela-like focal image. I'm using a script brush, liner brush, with a little bit of water, and I'm cutting right close to the napkin to remove all the excess. Now those little bits that I'm pulling off, I can save those and put them onto a background and break another background, which is going to give it texture, and maybe some of the pattern's going to come through. So you don't have to throw it out. You can use every little last bit. So once I get one cut, I'm putting it on the dried brown paper background. And it doesn't quite fit. There seems to be a lot of space. So I'm going to cut out another couple of these from the napkin. Now that that's done and the focal image is taken care of, I want to colorize the background. So I'm putting a brown, burnt umber brown, and I'm using a beat up brush and I'm working it into all the crevices. Now remember, we're looking to create faux leather. So we have those wrinkles, we also want to build in some highlights and lowlights. I don't have a lot of paint on the brush. And I am taking a baby wipe every once in a while and taking it back. And you can see how it's getting that worn leather look. But we're not done yet. Now, I could be adding color, a different color other than brown. I'm going for the faux leather look, and I like the brown. It's going to go good with the focal image that I've chosen. But you could do the same with any color. Now I'm grabbing some black, and I'm putting very little on my brush, and I'm basically dry brushing on top. I want the black to get caught only in the highest places. Remember, I want those low lights where I wiped back the brown paint. Now I'm adding some dark black to the highest part. I want to bring out that texture and make it look like that worn leather look. And there's just a close-up. I'm adding more, giving it a dry in between, deciding, do I want to build it up? What do I want to do? This would look nice with a burgundy background and then taking the dry brush with gold on top, or navy with gold. And I'm just gradually, slowly building up the amount of black. If I get too much, I'm grabbing that baby wipe and getting it off. Now I decide at this point, because I've got the black paint out, I'm getting a Ranger blending foam and I'm edging my page with the black. I'm loving the look. You can even take the blending foam and rub very carefully on top. Do what works best for you. Whatever process technique works. Giving that egg dry. Now I love the deeper dark brown with the motif, but it looks too small. 2 didn't look right, 3 didn't quite fit. So I'm looking for something to build up or bulk up my focal image. And I have these embellishments that I created by stamping with gel gloss medium. And I'll put a link to that video in the iCards in the top right-hand corner, because that's a wonderful technique and you can make some wonderful embellishments. So I'm pulling out different colors that I see in the napkin, and this teal one, it just looks amazing with the brown background, and it mirrors the color, the blues that are in that napkin focal image. And together, between those embellishments and the napkin, I have my focal image. So don't be afraid to take a stamp or a napkin and build it up with a different embellishment that you have in your stash. So now I'm playing with, where do I want this to go? Do I want 4 of these embellishments? Do I want 5? What looks better? And I spend a lot of time doing that. I take pictures. And I left this in to show you that, because if I don't show you that there's time going on or indecision, and I'm loving this. It just looks so good. It perfectly sets off the napkin, looks great on the background. I'm still thinking, where do I want this? Do I want it in the center? I prefer things to be off center or onto the side, sometimes going off the page. So there's with 4, you saw with 5. There is no right or wrong. There's your decision in the moment. And quite honestly, since I have more napkin and I have the stamp to make that embellishment, I can duplicate this on a canvas if I so choose. At this stage, when I'm uncertain about the composition, I'm also going to start thinking about, am I going to add a sentiment? And 95% of the time I do. And where's that going to go? So before I glue anything down, I want to figure those things out. And so I'm going to go to my sentiment stash, find one that works with the focal image and the feel of it, and then play with it in the composition, because I need to be able to put that sentiment on there and it needs to fit in amongst the whole page. It's all part of the fine tuning, I guess. And I like this right here, especially looking back now. So this would work in my mind. But then I end up moving the focal image down to the corner. Oh, and here's the stamp set, the Tracy Scott stamp set that I used to create those gel medium stamped embellishments. So I grabbed the different sentiment, and because I want to show as much of that background as possible, I'm cutting off a lot of the white by bubble cutting it around. This sentiment and the one I had before are both from my It's About Time sentiment pack. And I'll put a link to it in the description box below. Links to my Instagram Amazon store and where you can buy any Creative Katie products are on my YouTube page on the top banner in the right-hand side, and it's just one click and it'll take you directly there. Now I'm gluing this all down with TCW gel medium, and the reason for using gel medium as opposed to fluid medium here is because of all the texture that is on this page. We've got the from the brown paper, the crinkled brown paper, and I want to make sure that this sticks. So I'm putting it on the background and then on the back of the elements that I'm gluing down. Now the gel medium goes on and it's white, but it does dry clear. Now I decided that I want to glue the napkin down onto white paper. But because that means I have to cut it out, I'm just going to use, instead of using the ones that I water cut, I'm going to save those for another project. I'm going to just put the one that I didn't cut. And I put a coat of fluid medium underneath and then on top. And when that's dry, I'll be able to cut it all out. This will preserve the colors. It also gives some structure to this. And remember, I'm going to be gluing this onto all that textured stuff, and I don't want to see the embellishment or the brown from the background. So now that it's perfectly dry, and wait patiently, don't try to cut it when it's still damp. I'm just cutting it on, and I'm leaving the brown border there because, of course, I have brown in the background. I love this motif, and that's why I chose the embellishment, because it has that similar pattern to it. If I was doing an art journal page, I would pick some stenciling for the background that might have that same motif in it. I think I need to do an art journal page with this same napkin. Now I'm edging this with brown acrylic paint on that Ranger blending foam. I don't want the white there. I want it to be brown because that's what I've got going on this page, the brown and the teal. Just figuring out final positioning, and then a coat of gel medium on the back of the napkin and on top of the embellishments. And then I press it down and so it completely adheres. I just love this color combo. I think this would make a gorgeous napkin. Now the white of the sentiment is a little too white. There's off-white in the napkin, not pure white. So I want to colorize that sentiment. So I grabbed my unbleached titanium, which is great for anything that has that vintage feel. And I'm giving it a wash, and then I'm just dabbing it off with a baby wipe, just so it's slightly colored. It's not that pure stark white. But I didn't want to get rid of the black of the sentiment. And if I had, I could have taken my Sakura Glaze gel pen and gone over the letters to make them bolder. Now this is a Stabilo All pencil, but it's not black, it's brown. And I'm using the brown to outline that mandala napkin, adding those details back in. If you don't have a brown Stabilo, you might want to get one, and I will link that in the description box. If you do a lot of brown and brown shading, this might come in handy. But you can use a watercolor pencil. I could have used any brown medium for this. Just outlining it just a little bit here. I'm not activating it with water. So you don't even need something that's water activated here. It could be a marker. Now I grab my pre-mixed gold and my fan brush, and I'm going to splatter gold on this after I cut off the excess. I did think about leaving this on so it overlapped, and if it was on a canvas, I might have done that. I think that would have been an interesting effect, but because this is going into an art journal and there's something on the background, I chose to cut it off. Now I need to re-edge it with that black, the blending foam. Just to put the edging back in place because I've cut it off. And I can build up more if I choose that I want more. And then I'm splattering. And the gold picks up the yellow that's on that napkin and always just makes it a little more special. Once that's dry, I decide that I want to do some shading around the outside just to make this focal image stand out. I'm using black acrylic paint and the floating acrylic technique that you've seen me use. And I go over it several times, just building up the depth of the black a little bit more till I get the effect that I like. And you can see it just gives that shadowing and makes this look a little more 3D, right? I love this page and I hope you do too. It's really quite simple. A winning color combo, the teal and the brown, and mix and match those embellishments that you have in your stash. So to recap, I started with brown paper that I collaged across the entire background. I crumpled it up, glued it down with gel medium. I chose a focal image from a napkin, that Mandela napkin, and I cut out that center part of the napkin. I decided to go for the faux leather effect, and so I put a layer of brown base coat color, wiped it back a little bit with the baby wipe to get 2 tones of brown, and then I applied black acrylic paint kind of in a dry brush to bring up the high points and show off that wonderful texture and make it look like faux leather. I picked some embellishments that I stamped with gel medium to bulk up and build up my focal image with the napkin, so it had more presence on the page. I selected a sentiment from my It's About Time sentiment pack, edging the page with black, splattering with gold, and then shading to make the focal image stand out. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you give something like this a try. Definitely give that faux leather look a try. Until next time, go get creative.